Hi, it's me. Fuck the intro. Let's just get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and say don't get super excited. There's still one more video after this, but let's see if I can beat my own bet and get this all finished before October arrives, or I look like an idiot.
To feel the wind in my face in our race. To feel alive in our race. To feel like I own this place. And I'll race until I die.
That's fine, who cares? Number 209 is U-Turn. This feels like a situation where a producer or executive got so pissed off about somebody making an illegal U-turn that they decided to just make a whole movie about how you should get fucking murdered if you ever do that. It's honestly the best produced PSA for traffic safety I've ever seen. So, this is a Filipino movie about a journalist investigating a series of mysterious suicides following an accident that occurred at a road still under construction. Our journalist in question is in dire need of a story that has to be viral, and I say viral because they keep using this word specifically, or she'll get the boot. So she decided to break every single rule of journalism and probably the law to investigate this, which includes touching bodies or stealing evidence. Turns out whoever crosses this barrier on the road gets haunted by a ghost lady and lasts, I guess, until they die in a way that resembles suicide. Not really a spoiler, by the way, so no, don't worry. This was a somewhat interesting, but not super memorable ghost movie. It's weird. The scares themselves are set up pretty well. There's one moment that actually unnerved me, which I'll show here. And that's fantastic, but that's the hardest thing to really do, is to creep somebody out, ultimately. But the characters and writing was just not up to par. I'm not really sure what this was missing other than that, because even that sounds kind of like thin. A lot of the movie just felt kind of dry, and not in like a grim mystery procedural sort of way, like a True Detective or something. It was just kind of, it just needed like a bite to it. Another thing, I mentioned this already, this is an incredibly specific method of haunting. It's weird, it's almost like a movie jam where someone just pulls an idea out of a hat and they had to make a movie out of it. If that's the case, they did a decent job. I don't know if I can recommend this movie, but I think if you're just turning off on a random night and want something to put on, this wouldn't be the worst thing. I see some people saying this is hilariously bad. I'm not quite sure where they're getting at. I mean, a premise, I guess, but it's not like, no, this isn't The Room or anything. 5.7 out of 10. Number 210 is Under the Shadow. So this movie has been on my shit list radar for a while because of this really awful thumbnail poster, which I don't even know if I can find. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but movies are a bit different because you can tell what they're trying to market it for. Although nowadays everything's hyper minimalist, so it doesn't quite really work anymore. This is an Iranian haunting movie about a family, specifically about the mother, who can't be a doctor anymore because of her involvement in leftist reform groups back in college days. But despite that, she's a much different person now. But still, because of this, she's pretty much stuck being a stay-at-home mother while her husband can actually live out her desire of being a doctor. And that, along with his horrible attempts at comforting her, causes some strain. So, for some cultural context, this is set in the 1980s, and this is post-revolution Iran, where there is still a good bit of conflict going on, such as these random bombings. And because of this, her husband has now been drafted to one of the most dangerous outposts, leaving her alone while threats of impending missiles literally loom over the city. The mother refuses to make herself and daughter leave their home and move somewhere else, but there's also something else going on. The young daughter starts to get like a Babadook-style haunting from something. They allude to the spectral thing being something like a jinn, possibly carried from an undetonated missile overhead, which sounds kind of silly. But it's left pretty ambiguous, which is what I really like about it. Like the Babadook, it becomes a well-written kind of character drama, but more so about the mother and her restricting circumstances, rather than just the mother and daughter. It's really well directed and written. Again, I'm really surprised by this entire thing. The characters, they feel realistic and three-dimensional. The scares are also pretty well done because there's both the real-world element of the missiles and the supernatural element of whatever the fuck's going on. They make a really good use of the budget too, and there's some really interesting visuals because of it. 8 out of 10, very good movie. A very surprising hidden gem. Go check it out. Number 211 is Unfriended, or Cybernatural. I don't know why Netflix suddenly has Cybernatural written across the thumbnail. It's still listed as Unfriended. Neither of these are really good names. Not one is better than the other, so why? Oh, apparently it was originally going to be called Offline, which I think, while very vague, would have made for a far less laughable name. I don't know. Anyways, you guys know about this movie. It's practically a meme. The entire movie is shot on a fucking MacBook. Friends have a Skype FaceTime, which I guess is outdated now that we all use Discord. Oh, and then a suicided girl tries to kill them. The biggest surprise of this movie was how it wasn't very bad at all, really. I was expecting this to be such a shit show. Me and Logan actually watched the Logan being, or Minty, or old Logie, my roommate. We watched the second movie, Dark Web, which is possibly unconnected plot-wise. Hell, that movie isn't even possible spoiler. It's not even supernatural. It's just people. But this movie is supernatural though. They do a good job of making it feel like you're watching a shitty video call, because that's what it is. It's a shitty video call. It has that realism to it because that's what it is. Realism in giant quotes. I'll get criticisms out of the way. All the characters are completely awful and horrible and unlikable, and they don't even like each other. It's like the opposite of the current climate where everyone is being extremely careful of stepping on anyone's toes, so they don't say anything too outside, the norm. Here, they're just constantly just bitching at each other. Another problem is that there wasn't really a way out for these characters provided. I think that's more of a personal issue I have. Not every horror has to have that aspect to it, but there's not really a way that interacts with a ghost in any meaningful way. It's almost like a torture porn movie with this in mind, honestly. The scares themselves they did their job. They're okay, I guess. They were jumpy, but they were fine, except for the blender scene. It's not a very good movie, nor is it particularly awful. Really, it could have been way worse. I'll give it a 5.8 out of 10. It's mildly more interesting than U-Turn. I don't know if I can recommend this. Maybe watch it with multiple people over Skype. Hey, we're on to the V's, and the first movie in the V's is number 212, Vampires vs. the Bronx. I have literally zero connection to New York, so keep that in mind as I review this. This movie had released around a Halloween season of 2020, a year ago, and I was looking forward to watching it because I hadn't really found a good time to, but I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't think you're going to get much enjoyment out of this if you're over the age of 12, but this is not a terrible thing. This movie actually fulfills a very important niche of horror that I think is necessary. Plot time. This is about the Bronx in New York and a kid known as Little Mayor who rides around on his bike trying to save the local bodega his friend Tony runs from the gentrification that's happening with the help of his two friends. They're saving it from gentrification. His two children friends aren't gentrifying the Bronx. Now, it just so happens that the real estate company buying out and gentrifying this place isn't a bunch of out-of-touch white people, just out-of-touch white vampires. To the point, this is a kid's adventure horror movie, plain and simple. The plot is very simple, the cliches are simple, the turn of events are also all very simple. Now, I'm not saying kids' movies can't be good. I mean, I make cartoons. I have no choice but to find good kids' movies that are just good on their own. Those exist, but when it comes to horror, there's more of a line to tread, unless you're Courage the Cowardly Dog or Billy and Mandy. Movies like this are really important to show to younger audiences to introduce them to the horror genre, I think. And by introduce younger audiences, I mean it's an entry point that a parent can show their kid, and instead of them having to sneak into a movie or sneak out a DVD. These movies used to exist all the time, I think. Even more like shows, possibly like the cartoons I just mentioned. One of the most popular examples from before 2000s is the Monster Squad movie, or even Disney's produced live action stuff back in the late 90s. Or you can use that live action Goosebumps series and that Goosebumps movie that came out recently. But yeah, show this to your little brother or sister or kids or whatever young gremlins you got waddling around. Scare them and make them join the ranks of fans who dedicate themselves to one of the two genres of movies that has the highest concentration of terrible movies and shit in general that have ever existed. It's a fair 5.5-ish out of 10 for me personally, just because I didn't find much enjoyment out of it. But I don't know why people are lying and saying it's a close 10 out of 10. I can only assume that they're patting each other on the back. Also, I'm going to take a moment and make fun of the lack of creativity critics have when it comes to puns. They should just be like me and dryly ramble for an hour. Number 213 is Veronica. Now, do yourself a favor and just go ahead and watch this movie. So, this is a Spanish movie set in Madrid, based off a real-life story with similar events, more so at the beginning and end, and only in the not-so-crazy aspects, you know how it is. It's the day of the eclipse, and Veronica and her friends decide to hold a seance with a Ouija board. To their surprise, it works, but the glass they use suddenly heats up and shatters in Veronica's hand, causing blood to drip onto the board. Uh-oh. But this movie is also about how she pretty much has to take solo care of her siblings since her mother's working all day. But then there's this dark entity attached to her, starting all sorts of shit. I don't want to say much. Again, it has beautiful direction, a compelling script and set of characters, haunting visuals and scares. It's just a really all-around good horror movie. 8.6 out of 10, do not miss out on this. Number 214 is We Summon the Darkness. So this will be a pretty quick review because it's practically the exact same thing as another movie on the list, but worse in practically every way. There's a twist, but it's really obvious and it's practically spoiled in the description if you use context clues, so I'm just going to reveal that when I get to it. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal in regards to the movie. This takes place during a satanic panic era in like the 80s-ish, and this is about a group of 3 girls going to a black metal concert, and they meet some friends along the way. Again, spoilers from here, but I'll just say this. It's just a worse green room. It's just a way worse green room and far less grounded. And it's just worse. Anyways, the girls invite the guys that they meet to their father's house, and shortly after drugging them, they tie them up inside their house to perform a satanic cult killing. Oh no! But they're actually part of a Christian cult trying to increase the panic and drive people to donate to a televangelist played by Johnny Knoxville. Anyways, one of the guys gets stabbed, and 2 of them escape because they're really bad at killing helpless tied up dudes. And then they hold themselves up in a liquor storage while trying to survive, and then one of the girls has second thoughts, and yeah, you get it. It's literally Green Room, but worse. The characters are not nearly as likable, the writing feels really dumb, and there's things that get set up that don't go anywhere. Like this girl's thing is that her bladder is really bad and she keeps peeing. You normally think, oh, that's going to lead to a situation where she pees at a really bad time, she gets caught in the toilet. As for Tywin Lannister, no. It has nothing to do with anything. This movie was kind of funny, but not worth watching, unless you like Alexandria Daddario that much, I guess. 5.4 out of 10. It wasn't terrible. Just watch Green Room. Just watch the Green Room. Oh yeah, we're on the W's now. I've been so jaded by this, I just kind of kept going. Number 215 is What Lies Below. This is like that one Goosebumps book or episode with the plant dad, but only kinda and not really at all. This is a new movie to Netflix, well, new when I recorded it, when I first watched it, about an awkward teenage girl coming home from an archaeology camp to hang out with her mom at the family house, but mama's got a hot, new, young, succulent skin toy boyfriend marine researcher who is kinda weird. This is another movie spoiled by the genre tag, so avoid that if you want to watch this. As I mentioned, the mother is weirdly over-attached to this dude, and the girl can't shake the feeling that something is weird. Which is contributed to by his odd social habits of randomly walking to the lake in the middle of the night. The suspense and mystery was pretty good. I only really had problems at the end. Spoilers from here. John is a weird fish alien collector man. It's pretty obvious from the get-go that this is the idea, given his dialogue, and it's the same sort of hints from the Block Island sound. And again, it's obvious, but seeing the progression is pretty interesting and entertaining. And the set location does work nicely with the movie as well. If you like abs, then I think you'd like this movie a bit more. 6 out of 10. Number 216 is Wildling. Wildling is about teenage girl Bella and her budding relationship with a sparkling vampire named Edward Cullen, and the difficulties of the 2 worlds, mortal and immortal, man and monster, colliding for a romance to last for the ages. Okay, for reals, this is not a horror movie. It's as much of a horror movie as Twilight. It starts out kind of like a horror movie, but it's not, and also this movie's bad. This is about a young girl who has been locked in an attic for her whole life, and when she had her first period, the man who locked her there starts giving her weird injections that keeps her estrogen from secreting to keep her a tiny girl forever. This, coupled with the fable of the wildling and forcing her to eat nothing but veggies and along with her weird dreams, it makes it pretty obvious that she's a wildling thing. Eventually she is out of that place and in a hospital, and some police lady takes her home to acclimate her to the outside world while she awaits a more permanent home. This movie also has some of the most dumb characters I have ever seen. Don't you think that there should maybe be a group of people to help acclimate her to the world, like pros, just to, get her more used to things? Oh wait, no, there was, and then the script said no, because conflict needs to happen. Why is she already going to school, and why is she already going to a party? Why is he showing her porn, and why does he like her now? Kiss? Why? This movie has a lot of just what the fuck. Anyway, she learns she's basically a were-ape, and then travels to the north, and there's a really out of place action scene, and she's pregnant, and that's the movie. 4.5 out of 10. It's not a horror movie. Get out of here. Number 217 is Winchester. Okay, so me and Logan decided to watch this movie one night, and It was the closest a movie has ever come to ending a friendship that's lasted for over 5 years. This movie didn't make us argue, it just made everything suck so substantially around it that we wanted to become hermits like Simon of Stylite and live atop a pillar in the desert so that no one ever bothers us again. It's real, look it up. This is a movie about the story of the Winchester Mansion, a mansion that's basically built like Hogwarts with a bunch of useless rooms and hallways leading nowhere just to confuse ghosts? Oh yeah, history context. Winchester, repeating rival. Daughter of man who made them. Rifle fires bullets fast and often kills people. Killed people haunt her. Supposedly. Does that mean the man who invented the, I don't know, knife or guillotine was haunted by all the people who killed them? The person who made cars? Bleach pods? The idea was that the ghosts were giving Helen Mirren or whatever their character was supposed to be. Oh yeah, Miss Winchester. Is that they're supposed to be giving her astral instructions for the architecture and then she carries that to the builders. And also, you do get to see this and it looks incredibly dumb. I personally think this is a close second of the worst movies on this list. It is almost as bad as the Vatican Tapes for me, but this movie completely sucked all enjoyment out of me. We almost turned it off like 8 times and we weren't even sober, so that tells you it's really bad. The movie also just looks like shit. Whenever it shows the house, it looks like really weird 3D. I don't know, it just looks really bad. It has a very odd film quality to it. The acting also sucks, and as does the plot and everything else. I feel kind of bad because there's only so many ways you can say this sucks, but it just stinks! 1.7 out of 10. Watch literally anything else on this list, except Vatican Tapes. Number 218 is Would You Rather. If you couldn't guess, this is a shitty Saw clone torture porn movie. Speaking of torture, by the way, Sasha Grey's in this. Wait, I think that's the wrong parallel. Anyways, this is a movie about a woman and her leukemia-up brother who has very expensive treatment that she cannot pay for. She learns about a wealthy freakazoid who is offering a game that upon winning, he'll pay for all the shit that her brother needs. Turns out other people are here and it's a torture game where they have to make choices of awful shit to do. I'm a bit biased because I just don't like movies with this sort of plot. They're never really compelling, and I just, This movie's kind of funny though, spoiler I guess. At the end she wins and it turns out her brother killed himself so he wouldn't be a burden, so it was all for nothing. Yeah, again, I don't really like this movie. There wasn't anything as dumb or funny as Truth or Dare. 4 out of 10, it wasn't unwatchable, but if you want a movie with this kind of premise, just watch Cube. Cube's pretty good. Okay, here we are. This is the last video, technically, in a comprehensive Netflix horror list as of recording. And after this, okay, I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. You just click. I'll put a timestamp in the beginning if you want to skip past this intro. So, as you might imagine, well, this list may become obsolete when new things are added to it, to Netflix's list of horror movies, and you're right. So my plan to do from here on is, I don't think they don't add horror movies too often. I can just review those, and either I'll make a video about it, like as a monthly Netflix roundup thing, or I'll just add it to the giant letterbox list, which I'll eventually dump. That's gonna take a while. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna do all that without. I might just copy and paste everything on my Google Doc because it's a lot. It's a whole lot of stuff. But yeah, I'll give that a shot. Anyways, on to the video. Number 219, and still on the list, is #Alive, a zombie movie. Yay. No, I'm actually serious. This one is pretty good. It's also very relevant, but maybe not much longer, hopefully. Oh. Delta variant. So, like all zombie movies, this is about where our main character is located when the apocalypse starts, and the plot just kind of morphs around that. Here, it's an apartment complex. Our protagonist is a 20-something streamer and son of a well-off family, and the rest of his fam had happened to be out doing some shit when all hell breaks loose. The son locks himself inside and, using internet sources, advises all citizens to stay quarantined no matter what, so now he has to survive on what little food, water, and rationality he has left. Not much else to say except, well, that. The movie's well shot, main character is likable, and the threats feel real. And the setting and concept is actually pretty interesting too. At some point, he does communicate with a girl on the other side the street in her own apartment complex, and then plot kind of moves from there. But that's kind of actually where I started to be less interested. Their relationship and interactions are fun, and how they get messages across, but then it becomes a we gotta get to the top of the building, get out of here sort of action zombie plot, and you can more or less see and guess what happens. There's a random twist that doesn't really go anywhere, but it's not a big deal, and that's the movie. Okay, problems, as I just mentioned. This movie becomes less interesting outside of the apartment once you get outside the apartment. It's still well shot and everything, but the setting of being stuck in the apartment itself is what set the movie apart from other zombie movies. Secondly, which has to do with the name, now there's a message in this movie. I don't know what it is, but it's there. It has something to do with him posting a picture of himself alive with the movie's title, #alive, but I don't know what the larger picture of this is supposed to be like what's the whole point of it. It got kind of lost by the end of the movie, but the movie itself was fine. I enjoyed it. I think 7 out of 10 is fair. Okay, I want to quickly talk about Zombieland because it was on here for a minute. There were some movies that were literally added on here for a week, and then they were just gone before I could even get to them. I've seen Zombieland before. It's a good comedy horror zombie movie. I'm not going to really even rate it or review it. Just go watch it. It's good. But we'll call it 220 just because I've already updated my list like that, and I'm changing the numbering in Google Documents is such a pain in the ass. Anyways, yeah. Go watch Zombieland if you haven't already. Oh, okay, this is a neat coincidence. Number 221 is 122. It's a palindrome of a numeric sort. So, I was really not looking forward to this movie, and I had the same feelings regarding a #alive, but again, I was pleasantly surprised. This is an Arabic movie about a young couple, the wife being pregnant and also mostly deaf. The husband doesn't have enough money for a wedding or a dowry or something, so he needs to find a way to make some scratch, which may involve a seedy past for one last job. But we don't even see that job because they both get in a fucking car wreck on the way there. The wife wakes up at the hospital without her hearing aid or her husband and is incredibly frustrated because, she can't communicate. And it so happens that the husband was presumed dead and wakes up at a non-operational morgue, which a nearby surgeon happens to be harvesting organs. Human trafficking. They thought he was dead, and he's obviously not, so now there's a huge problem. The rest of the movie plays out like a thriller, cat and mouse style, where the husband tries to escape getting his liver scooped out and the wife tries to find him, all while avoiding certain death in a gross hospital in the middle of nowhere. Other than some bad CG fire, I did enjoy it. I wanted to know what was going to happen next, and that's the bare minimum for entertainment, but a lot of movies seem to fail at that. I liked the characters, I did root for them, and it was an interesting concept. It had some campy acting, but I'm fine with that in this kind of film. Just not very scary though, but it does keep you on the edge of your seat. I think 7 out of 10, it's a decent thriller. Number 222 is 1BR. We got 2 winners in a row, let's go for a third. Ah, shit. Okay, I was actually sort of excited. This movie had a kind of an interesting premise. A girl moves into an apartment complex with a strong, weird sense of community, but again, something's very odd. The twist and reveal of it all is pretty obvious, 100% from the get-go. And I've said this before, an obvious twist isn't really a big deal. It just needs to be interesting. And the entire movie also needs to be interesting, which it isn't. The acting is laughably bad. The main character also sucks and mopes and whines the whole time, for understandable reasons as the plot shows, but she just sucks. All the character sucks, the movie feels cheap, and it is cheap, and I felt cheap watching it. What a waste. 4 out of 10. Number 223 is Andagaram, which is the best Tamil JRPG walking sim turn mood that I've ever seen. Yeah, this is a very difficult film to discuss with this kind of format of this list because it's a lot. It's 3 hours for one, and it's a whole lot. Again, like I was saying, it feels like a walking sim / heavy rain styled game. There's a lot of intersecting plot elements and also a really weird timeline sequence of events kind of stuff. And I was super into it. It was really interesting because I wanted to see where each of these pieces kind of fit in, and they were just neat characters all around. So just to give you the pieces here, it involves a misfortunate blind man, a ruined psychiatrist, and a haunted or crazy cricket coach. The blind man only has his uncle after his family died, and the mansion is all his father left behind for him because it's all he had. And him being a dutiful son, he refuses to sell it and wants to maintain it, so he has to turn towards his dad's occultic tricks of the trade for cash. The doctor, however, was shot by one of his patients, who had already killed the doc's family, and now the doctor has to use a voice box to speak, which, along with him being pretty much kicked out of his profession by the medical board, makes it to where he's driven to start treating people with unusual methods. Then there's a cricket coach who's a dude who's being driven crazy by a landline, and it's a telephone, that cell phone for you kids, since someone keeps calling him and driving him insane. At the same time, he feels guilty because his friend is in a weird mental state after giving him some occultic book. All of these stories, which are pretty much movies on their own, tie together in really neat, interesting ways. I'd really recommend watching it if you're into this weird sort of format. But I will say that the cerebral stuff isn't super well thought out. It is kind of a bit surface level, but all of this put together does make a very neat picture. Take plenty of breaks though. It's long as fuck. A 7.5 out of 10. Number 224 is Bull. Looks like a bird. Hey, another Indian horror movie. Hey, the last one was pretty decent. What about this one? Oh. There isn't much to say about it that's really fun or really terrible. The movie doesn't have very many good actors. The lady was good. What are her? Yeah, her. She was good. The setting at the castle was also kind of neat, as well as the societal stuff, like this weird touring scene in the beginning. The plot does have to do with a girl who's married into this family to the much older brother, despite being in love with a brother-in-law who is the same age, and him, the brother-in-law, returning many years later with everyone all grown up. But hey, who's this doctor getting all Dan Schneider on her feet? What's wrong with her feet to begin with? How did the mentally ill brother die? Oh, and then there's a demon woman flying around killing people. It's more of a drama about some horrific shit our main lady Bull went through rather than straight up horror itself. Her character is pretty likable, and our main character was also likable for about 20 minutes. The doctor is a lot more charming than him, which does seem to be the point. My problem with the movie just kind of has to do with the ending, which is that it just kind of ends very unsatisfyingly. The movie wasn't straight up bad, except for this weird annoying red tint that they kept using during the horror scenes. 5.4 out of 10, I guess. Nothing super remarkable about it, and all the horror stuff wasn't great either. Interesting drama though, I guess. Okay, really quick. There was like a fuck ton of Chucky movies on here, so I'm going to go out of the letter order and then just kind of go into the movie order, I guess. So the numbers are going to be kind of out of order for a little bit. Don't worry about it. It'll make sense when I do it in editing. So this would be 228. This is Child's Play 2, because we already reviewed Child's Play 1 a long ass time ago. And again, it's another Chucky movie. This movie directly follows the events of the first Child's Play, and like the first one, it's still a pretty enjoyable watch. Although it kind of feels like the same thing, to be honest, which is what I expected. Andy's mom is now in a psych ward, and he has to be taken to a foster home with an understandably apprehensive father, although he's still a douche. And don't worry, Andy's still an adorable little bugger. And anyways, like I said, it's pretty much the same movie as the first, but no real mystery angle because obviously Chucky is real. The real strength is the character dynamic with the teenager foster child and Andy. It does work pretty well, and I like her too. Really, you're watching this slasher for the kills in camp anyways, and don't worry, there's plenty of that. And if you like the first Child's Play, I think this is definitely worth watching just for the fun of it. But it's not a very great movie, it's fine. I had fun with it, although I don't know how much that is nostalgia. 6.3 out of 10? It's honestly not great, but I just like it, I guess. If you have no nostalgia, then I don't think you'll like it as much. Now, this would be 229, so this is directly after Child's Play 3. By this point, I realized how much I hate the Chucky theme. It just sounds like someone slamming their hands on a piano to make a recognizable theme, but it just doesn't work. It's a horrible mess. Anyways, Andy's all grown up now. Well, he's a teenager, and he's certainly not adorable anymore. And he's at a military school. But this time, Chucky's back again. Guess it's not really this time if it keeps happening, huh? Anyways, Andy's too old now, so Chucky has to reset the curse, and he has to use adorable little war child playing a Sega Game Gear as a new target. Again, practically the same movie, but worse. The setting is interesting for this kind of movie, but Andy's a nasty teenager now, and that's kind of it. I just like the trilogy for nostalgia, but that's really it. By the way, if you're curious about the Chucky movies, I'd strongly suggest for you to stop here. All the Chucky movies after this, completely different vibe, which you're going to see with Bride of Chucky, which I'm getting to right now. Oh, this is 5.7 out of 10. Whoops. Okay, 225 is Bride of Chucky. So, if you're wondering, Child's Play 3, ironically, which is when they didn't even use Chucky's name in the title, is the cutoff point for that era in the series where it was somewhat enjoyable. After that, it's all shit. And not even fun shit, just weird, sleazy garbage. The shot quality looks way worse. Chucky has stitches on him now because it's spooky. It's just all around garbage. The plot of the movie involves Chucky's hot goth rocker GF with the big boob who wants to revive him from his dead puppet. And surprise, surprise, she does, but she remembers he's a selfish asshole and then tries to keep him in prison as a doll forever in her care. So Chucky breaks out, kills her, and puts her soul into a doll. And she now has to join him on a quest to get an amulet from his original corpse that will help transfer their souls into the bodies, into this unlucky couple that this movie happens to follow. Now, like I said in the beginning, it looks like shit. The characters all suck. There's a kind of a funny running joke where the couple thinks it's the other person doing all this heinous murdering, not realizing it's the puppets, but that's it. This movie also involves a really dumb, gross puppet sex scene, which later becomes relevant because the bride's puppet body ends up giving birth right as the movie ends. Set up for Seed of Chucky. Ah, shit. It was kind of funny sometimes, so 4 out of 10? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Okay, so, this is kind of all doesn't matter now, the Chucky stuff. Seed of Chucky was also on here, and I reviewed that, except the review's gone, so I have no idea what I even wrote, and I would mean watching the movie again, and it was complete dog shit, so I'm not doing that. It doesn't even matter, because I think this entire series is now off Netflix, so that's great. But I did watch it, and it sucked. Yeah. Okay, that was a complete disaster, this entire Chucky debacle. I don't give a fuck. Number 226, Cadaver. Cadaver is a movie about a twist and a plot that's painfully obvious because of the title and thumbnail. Apparently this is France after some nuclear disaster, so everyone's poor and hungry, but some dude says, hey, poor assholes, come to this wicked mansion. It's like a weird Archie carnival and you'll eat good food. So our family of men, wife, and child girl go because they want something nice for their daughter to look forward to that isn't a dead roach puppet show or whatever else the fuck you would do here. The mansion setting is nice. It has this kind of a neat dark fantasy element to it, like that Guillermo del Toro produced movie, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. The mansion and marquee say that the events to follow is basically a giant interactive living play where you can choose to follow actors as they navigate the mansion and, well, act. The audience has a strict rule to wear these masks and never remove them. Can you guess what our main cast does? Good, you're smarter than them already. But it may end up being in their best interest to be dumb because their daughter goes missing along with a few other people and they can't seem to find their way out. People are disappearing through walls and painting stare at them. It was all interesting. It was almost like an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. So I was praying that what I knew was going to happen wouldn't happen, but we'll get to that. Anyways, like I said, things are confusing, but luckily there's a random bits of newspaper that explains the plot here. Spoiler. Cannibals. The circus is full of cannibals. Well, kinda. The actors don't know that they're cannibals. They just thought that they were kidnapping people and just stealing from them, but yeah. People in masks are guided to trapdoors by the actors, and then they're sent to butchers to be made into Soylent Green. And the wife happens to escape just in time as a new tour group shows up. But obviously no one believes her because she lost her mask, and if you're not wearing a mask, you're an actor. That's what they said. So the movie does a really lame ending where she leads the tour group with her amazing acting to the kitchen where people are being butchered, actors revolt, movie ends. There's a few problems here. I'll say this one thing. That wasn't a complete ass pull. She does mention in the beginning how she used to act. But no, this is stupid though. How the hell would you go this long working in this troupe and not just get curious or accidentally stumble upon what you're eating? I don't know. Anyways, the movie was straight down the middle for me. Visuals and ideas were neat, but they didn't take them anywhere interesting, so 5 out of 10. Number 227 is Case 39. Now right off the bat, this looks very cheap despite Renee Zellweger being here, which can be fine, but it doesn't give me much hope. This movie is about Renee Zellweger and Rocket Raccoon, who plays a social worker and an adorable, stupid widow girl who is about to be baked into a cake. This girl is saved and then taken away, but she really wants to stay with Renee. I forgot, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And by God's will, Renee makes it happen to her. She stays with her. And she's starting to see that this is maybe there was a reason for the craziness. Also, her acting gets worse, and she starts bopping her head like an idiot. Granted, I would probably start acting like an asshole if I had to eat a dinner of wet hot dogs and plain mashed potatoes. What the fuck? Anyways, Rocket Raccoon gets horneted by the child's power and dies. How? What even killed him? Anyways, Renee can't see the girl doing this or really even knows, but she immediately suspects her of being evil which is weird. You'd think you'd wait for more evidence of this, but luckily the guy from John Wick believes her and will help her murder the child. Oh, spoilers. A girl isn't exactly the Antichrist, but some sort of demon soul thing that feeds off of kindness and wants to murder people with their fears. Anyways, they drown her horrible demon face, movie ends. I can't recommend this movie, but it's not that terrible. 4.7 out of 10. Okay, skipping over to 230, because we already did 228 and 29 at the Chucky things. This is Dark Forces or Fuego Negro, which is actually relevant because that otherwise leads you to a Star Wars Stormtrooper thing. I was actually looking forward to this movie. It had an interesting premise, atmosphere, and visual direction, but it takes it absolutely nowhere interesting. Dark Forces is a Spanish movie about an ex-gangster vampire thing who's searching for his sister at this weird, creepy hotel. Again, the visual style is really nice, but that's it. The main character is overly stoic and incredibly boring, and the characters themselves are not very charming, and the movie is just needlessly confusing. Oh, it also has one of the worst action scenes I have ever seen in my entire life. This sound design is abysmal. It sounds like they're slapping pillows. What the actual fuck? Why did they do this? Oh, this is so unsatisfying. The fucking fight scene from Lakshmi was more hype than this. This movie is like Twin Peaks Season 3 with zero charm, humor, acting, ability, or direction. In fact, it's not even comparable. What the hell was this? 3.5 out of 10. Number 231 was Death of Me, which was another movie I was looking forward to. It had a really interesting description. I think interesting is kind of the word of this series here. So I was excited, which I learned I just shouldn't do. I should not be excited. And yeah, this is about a couple who is vacationing off some unknown island off the coast of Thailand, so that the husband, the photographer, can take photos for his jobs for cultural storage or whatever bullshit. Anyways, they wake up hungover and cannot remember shit or what the fuck happened. So he looks at his phone's videos and he finds a clip of them drinking some weird island magic, as in that's what she says it is, and they start having sex and he strangles her, kills her, and buries her. Well, they both watched the video, so somehow she died and is not dead. She freaks the fuck out and he's confused and she's just scared of him. But they do work together and try to figure out what's going on because guess what? They can't find their passports and a typhoon's about to hit and they can't leave. Oh no! Anyways, commence the hangover, but horror. Backtracking. People for some reason are treating the re-dead lady very well, hugging her and shit, all while being very cryptic about some unknown festival that's about to occur. Meanwhile, she keeps passing out and seeing weird sewn-up ghosts do some sort of treatment on her. Everyone is creepy in kind of a weird culty sort of way. I know some people have described this as a racist depiction, but I'll remind you that we all do the same thing to practically every culture. And this isn't mocking Thailand, just an indigenous group with a set of beliefs that are made up for this movie. It's not making fun of anyone, this can take place anywhere, and it makes sense to be somewhere where these characters not only stand out, but there's a huge language barrier. And it's racist. Anyways, that shit aside, this movie's writing is really where it falls apart. It just doesn't end up being well written as far as conclusions go. Characters are not very interesting either, and their dynamics and chemistry, for the main couple especially, the main couple's chemistry is just awful. The mystery wasn't even much of a mystery either, which again, I've stated this, I think, literally close to 100 times now. That is fine. It just needs to be executed in an interesting way, which it really wasn't. Nothing really just pulled together. Go watch Apostle instead. 5.7 out of 10. Number 232 is Devil's Gate. This was a very weird movie. It surprised me in a lot of ways I did not expect, which is, given the last movie, a nice thing to have. This is about an FBI detective coming to investigate a small-time crown, Dale Creeper style, but with none of the charm. And this involves a missing son and daughter, and a suspicious father left behind. By the way, I know I said that she lacked the charm of Dale Cooper, but she does kind of grow on you throughout the movie, at least for me. The husband in question, like I said, starts acting really crazy with talks of angels and demons in the heavens. Okay, I do have to get into spoilers. I'll just say this. This movie is definitely intriguing. I want to know what happened next, and despite the characters being kind of shit, except the good old deputy here, and the effects looking terrible like a PS2 game, the movie was kind of weird and interesting. That's the bare minimum for a movie to be watchable for its length. We have to want to know what happens next. Simple as that. Okay, spoilers. It's aliens! Turns out the dad is a fucking alien hostage kept in a cell in the basement, holding it to exchange for the mother and son who were taken by them. After this, the movie becomes a weird defense against the fish-looking alien thing. Oh, and I'll say this too. I actually really love the designs of these alien things. They look sufficiently weird, and they do a good job of hiding it in the cell, so you only see glimpses, and it looks, well, alien. Anyways, turns out the dad's family had a tradition of communicating with quote-unquote angels on this barren property to do stuff for them. So son gets really sick one day, so he asked the alien to help him, and then things went awry. There's some more stuff going on, but I'll leave that to you when you actually watch it, if you do. The movie is pretty campy, and again, interesting story stuff, and I did enjoy my time with it. Really, if you can get past the first third, I think you would have a fun time. Watch it with friends on a stormy night. 6 out of 10. Number 233 is Don't Listen. This movie is a fantastic example of how one specific thing can change the entire course of your enjoyment. Don't Listen is a Spanish movie. It does involve a child who keeps hearing awful ghostly whispers in his new house, and not really a spoiler, but kinda. He fucking dies face down in the swimming pool and the parents are destroyed by it. The dad has no choice but to continue the project of fixing up the house and sell it, since all of his money is in it, but then he starts hearing his son's voice. From here, a ghost researcher old boy and his daughter gets involved to investigate. So one thing I've noticed about these Spanish movies is that they generally do have a more somber, serious tone, and far less annoying characters. And these Spanish horror movies, at least most of the ones on here, seem to focus a lot on atmosphere too, which I do really like, even if everything else doesn't turn out great. Unfortunately, this is all ruined by the fucking jump scares. There are so many jump scares in this movie, it's ridiculous. All of the scares, and I mean all of them are jump scares. The atmosphere was completely ruined by it. It just got frustrating. By the way, at no point did I even jump, and I don't think you would either. They're not well set up at all, and it just ruined the whole movie. So fucking dumb. 3.7 out of 10. Number 234 is Ghosts of War. Another interesting setting, and it's not a basic bitch-ass family, just overly macho soldiers. Well, some of them. It's not like Predator macho, but you know. This is about a group of World War II soldiers taking position at an abandoned mansion where black magic and spooky Nazi stuff happen. Haunting shit happens, you know the drill. Oh, and Nazis are attacking. And there's also some weird space-time stuff going on with the movie, as well as a ghost fight scene? But then there's the big old twist, and spoilers, they were in a simulation. Turns out they were recovering from something that happened in Afghanistan, and they were taken to simulation as rehabilitation, but then there's literally a ghost in the machine. I don't know what to say. It's a very weird movie. It was directed kind of okay, but the story was not really good. Number 235 is Goddamn? Goddamn? I don't know. This is not a movie. Literally, it's not a movie. It's in a movie section, so we're watching it. But yeah, this isn't as off base as the Devil and Father Amorth documentary. It's just an anthology of a bunch of short films, which is probably why it's on here. So it really wouldn't make a difference if it was put together or not. If anything, it makes it easier to tell you which short to see because it's already split up. I'm just going to name off the notable ones and give you a quick thought because they're so short, ranging from 8 to 15 minutes. Anything more than just a thought would probably defeat the purpose of a review. Episode 3 is pretty okay. It's about an insufferable live streamer, so if you want to see mean stuff happen to somebody annoying, sure. Episode 6 is a definite recommendation. It's called Dimension. It involves a weird elevator and a death that happened there, a supposed method to enter a new dimension. Again, very weird and has interesting effects at the end. 8, and the last one, is Birth. Also, it's the longest, clocking at 15 minutes. It involves a horrific method of cursing, which involves starving a child and then killing it, so it turns into a vengeful spirit. There's some really gross visuals at the end. It's kind of sick. Like all anthologies, very mixed bag, rating inapplicable, but if you were to average 5 out of 10 maybe, I don't know. Just spend 20-ish minutes and just watch the ones that are recommended, and I think you'll have a good time. Yeah. Okay, number 236, and the one that everyone is going to disagree with me on, is Gothica. This is about Halle Berry and Robert Downey Jr. and that guy from season 2 of Channel Zero, which is a discussion for another day. Yeah, some big names, and this may be an actual movie. Gothica is a movie about a psychiatrist, Halle Berry, who works at a mental institution, and she has an accident driving home one day, and she wakes up to find herself institutionalized in the same mental hospital because of something she supposedly did but cannot remember. I'll quickly talk about the visuals too. The mental hospital has this overly depressing color grading of like blue, and it does look really neat. I liked it, so I'm going to go ahead and say my impression of this movie was pretty good. So I was incredibly shocked to see that it had a 14% Rotten Tomatoes. By the way, if you don't understand how Rotten Tomatoes works, I should have maybe mentioned this in the very beginning. It doesn't mean it was rated a 1.4 out of 10, like how I would rate it or something. It just means that 14% of all aggregated reviews were favorable, meaning that 14% of people either gave it a 10 out of 10 or a 5.1 out of 10. And the same goes opposite. Anyways, I didn't really have much of a problem with the movie. I enjoyed it. I like Halle Berry. In this, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't that great, but I still liked him. I found the plot and overall film motivating enough for me to want to keep watching, and it was kind of creepy at times. The only issue I have is that the twist itself was pretty obvious. Again, it doesn't bother me much for the same reasons I've always said. But these are just my thoughts. Whatever, fuck you, I liked it. If you don't, then that's okay. But I'd recommend it for Halle Berry at the very least. 6.5 out of 10, fuck you. Number 237 is Dead Again Tombstone, and we're just going to skip right past that because that's apparently a sequel, which I didn't realize 20 minutes in because I was very confused by everything. Danny Trejo's in it, though. But 238 is Hellfest, and... anyways, it's about time I bring this up. I think the award for the most used stock sound effect can finally be determined, and it goes to the Bloodborne New Thing sound effect. That is the most interesting thing about this specific movie review you can find. Honestly, you can just skip to the next movie. It's about some girl coming back to town to hang out with really annoying friends at this Halloween festival called Hellfest, and also hook up with some stud that they keep hyping up. And then we finally see him, and it's literally a live-action Jason Funderburker. One thing I also want to quickly mention is just the lazy writing. There's this whole scene where Jason Funderburker wants to win a toy for the main girl, and he can't find anything. And then literally someone just talks as loud as they can from 40 feet away off screen to tell him where it is. It was like they forgot to write this into the script, and the PA had to quickly do something to just keep the film rolling. Anyways, there's some killer dude who's stalking them and is trying to kill them for some reason. They don't do anything interesting with it being a Halloween festival and him being in a mask. He's just in a mask and runs around stabbing people. That's it. That's the movie. Oh, and Tony Todd is a marquee dude. This is similar to another slasher movie called Haunt, although in a much more contained setting. It's just way worse. And I don't even like Haunt much either. 3 out of 10? Blech. Number 239 is His House. So as soon as I realized who some of the cast was, I was pretty excited for this movie. This girl, Wunmi Mosaku, I hope I'm saying her name right. She's in Lovecraft Country, and she's great in this too. This is about 2 refugees from a crisis in Africa who finally made it out of the detention center and are on their way to a huge but disgusting house for temporary living in England. And since as asylum seekers, they can literally not do anything. Also Doctor Who's here too. It had really good imagery and some haunting visuals to go with it. This movie also had a lot of character stuff going on. It has really tragic elements too, such as showing when their daughter drowns at sea whenever they took their boat over to England to escape. And also the fact that they're being treated like shit in a foreign land with no friends or family, under the threat of being deported back to that violence-stricken hellscape if they break any one of those rules. Oh, and the freaky witch doctor is also literally haunting their house. This movie also does deal with a few immigration things, namely separation and assimilation. What this basically means is that, so if you move to a new country, the host country, you reject the host culture completely and keep your original culture's norms entirely. That's what separation means. Assimilation is the exact opposite. It's where you completely abandon the original culture in favor of the host culture. A popular term used for this in regards to culture is whitewash, and not specifically in the sense of like turn race bending characters from black to white. I'm specifically referring to like, I can speak to this. You see some like quote unquote desi, which is like native, like, you know, natural Punjabi Indians, I guess. I'm not even sure what the exact term means. I just, you know, moving to America and they become completely Americanized. That's an example of assimilation. It shows it off really well, and you can kind of see both sides of it because the husband wants to totally assimilate and a wife wants to completely separate. So again, you see both ends, and it shows it really well, and it's something I, again, personally understand being the son of immigrants. So yeah, movie is very good, characters are interesting, visuals are creepy, and I do wish they pushed the horror elements a bit farther, but I enjoyed it a lot. Easy 8 out of 10. Okay, so from here on forward, I am going to try to get through these a little bit faster because this is a huge list. We're pretty much at the end, but I do need to talk about number 240, Homunculus, for a little while. This is a very weird one. This is a movie based off of a manga by the same name, written by Hideo Yamamoto, and this movie is also directed by Takashi Shimizu, who is known for directing the original Ju-on, or The Grudge, movies. Hideo Yamamoto also made Ichi the Killer, which is also something that I've read, and it has its own movie on Shudder. So what's weird about this is, which I pretty much just said, I read Homunculus before, and I read that like half a decade ago. It's been a long ass time, but it's always stuck to me in my mind because it's interesting and very weird. Very odd ball of a manga. So I more or less knew what was going to happen, or what was supposed to. As you might expect, there were changes made. I will go ahead and say I don't like live action adaptations of drawn media. This goes for, anime, Disney, cartoons, all that shit. But this is a kind of a perfect example of an appropriate, if done right, live action adaptation. This movie and manga is about a homeless man who only has a car and a big ass checkbook to his name and no real memory of his life. One day, then a strange neurosurgeon named Ito approaches him with an offer for a stack of cash. In exchange, he will allow the surgeon to perform a trepanation experiment on his skull, which literally means opening a skull in your head so your brain can circulate better and unlock stuff, maybe, with the hopes it will restore his memory in the process. While it doesn't immediately do that, he does start seeing the physical manifestations of people's emotional trauma, the homunculus. I don't want to say too much, but it's basically about how he sees certain individuals and he gets rid of their trauma by basically examining their homunculi to see the inner stuff made exterior, and if he succeeds, the homunculus disappears. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. So let me get into the differences between the movie and the manga. The movie, due to its limited length, is not quite able to go over the nuances and the more complex aspects of these people's homunculi. It's kind of forced to simplify or just outright omit important parts. And then, okay, spoiler territory. This movie has a completely different ending to the story than the manga. It's a more vanilla one. First off, Ito's homunculus in the movie is the same as the manga. It's a transparent fishbowl person with a single goldfish swimming around. In the movie, it's because he knocked over his dad's prized fishbowl so that he would pay attention to him. And in the comic, it's because he admired the goldfish's prettiness, and it turns out, I don't know if it's that he's transgender or that he's, just wants to cross-dress. But yeah, it turns out that he's, one of those. And it's, and he's just been denying it. Also in the manga, he's wearing goth. He has painted nails, jewelry. I'm not saying if you wear that stuff then that you are transgender. No, I'm just saying that was his way of dealing with it, and coping with just staying as a guy, I guess. Yeah, it's completely different. He's not at all like a villain like he's presented in the movie. In fact, in the manga, he tries to save our main dude's life. But yeah, other stuff. Homeless dude's arc is completely different. In the movie, he finds a girl, they find each other, happy ending. Not at all. Nakoshi, which is the main character, realizes the truth, which is that he just sees himself in every homunculus, in every person, and he literally just sees clones of himself everywhere at the end. In the end, he just starts seeing himself. He basically goes insane and starts drilling more and more holes in himself, and also other random people so that they can see the same stuff. It is completely different. Anyways, movie rating. It was, again, the word of the series. Interesting. 6.7 out of 10? But I would just recommend you read a manga instead. Number 241 is Hospital, and I remember hardly anything about this fucking movie. The premise was kind of neat. It's a Chinese horror about a priest and his son doing haunted tours for money where they can literally summon ghosts either using rituals or objects to do so. They take 2 women in for the tour who want to see their loved ones, and that's all I remember. The movie practically made zero impression on me, and I'm not even sure why. It was just really boring. I don't know if it was the acting of the characters or even the plot, but I did just end up skipping it. It held no interest one way or the other. 3 out of 10 standard skip rating. Number 242 is Incarnate. So Incarnate is basically like Paprika if it was about demons and it was boring and lame. Is this the third movie I compared a Satoshi Kon movie to? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, the plot of this movie involves an exorcist. I'm sorry, an incarnate. It's an incarnate, not an exorcist, who can dive into possessed people's minds to basically drive out the demon. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Demons and priests are lame. So that's right. That's why it's called an incarnate, not a priest. Anyways, this is about that incarnate, Dr. Ember. You can tell from his name he's real badass, trying to find a demon named Maggie that murdered his family. Anyway, the demon makes its way into a baby boy and he has to incarnate it out. The premise here could have also been cool, but the characters are very, very fucking lame and the movie does not get very interesting. The ending just also kind of sucked and there isn't much else to say. It just wasn't good. 4 out of 10. I did not like it. Number 243 is Into the Grizzly Maze. This is the most boring idea for a monster movie I could think of. I don't know what I expected. The only good thing about this was Billy Bob Thornton. This is a movie about a wild brother and a cop brother meeting up with their hometown again because a giant bear is fucking attacking people and killing them. That's it. A giant bear is killing people and that is the movie. There is no ounce of cleverness to it. And again, the Billy Bob Thornton grizzled hunter character is alright, but that's it. This bear is supposedly a force of nature that's taking revenge because some poachers killed a fuck ton of bear babies. The movie was boring and the actors sucked and they looked terrible. 4 out of 10. I had literally the exact same feeling as when I watched Incarnate. Number 244 is Jason X. So I was going to see if this somehow broke the sequel rule, but don't worry, this movie is completely irrelevant to the Friday the 13th series, hence the name being Jason X. This is definitely one of the dumbest movies on the list and the entire Friday the 13th series. This was dumb to the point that I got sick of it, honestly. This movie is about Jason, you know who he is. Actually, maybe not, I don't know if kid or anyone else still remembers. I guess because of Dead by whatever the fuck that horror game is. Anyways, a hockey mask machete zombie guy, that's him. Anyways, he's captured again as a live experiment to see how they can monetize his zombiness. But he breaks out, and as a last measure, he gets Futurama into a cryo chamber and ends up on a spaceship in the future. Yep. There's very, very odd clothing and characters with cowboy hats and jack carpeting vets, backflipping androids, and CGI space dragons. And yeah, I don't know what else to even say about this movie other than what I've already said, which is it's incredibly stupid. It wasn't quite dumb enough for it to be seriously funny or enjoyable all the way through. There are really only 2 good kills in this movie. 5.5 out of 10? Number 245 is Gali Kuhi. I had pretty much zero expectations for this, and as usual, I sometimes get surprised, which I guess is not as usual. Kali Kuhi is an Indian Hindi spoken movie about a family going to see a dying mother in a village that's also dying. Like a previous movie on the list that was a complete ripoff, it's based off a female infanticide, dead babies. If it ain't a boy, they may just end up killing a girl. That sort of lovely topic. And the curse put on the village as a result of these killings. The little girl who plays the protagonist tries to investigate what's going on, whether they're being haunted and how to stop it. That's a plot. The movie did have a very good sense of dread and mood going on throughout. It felt more like a realistic depiction of a poor village rather than a romanticized version of it. There's also some really weird visuals towards the end, which is something I'm always into. If you like moody horror movies with a sort of folk horror vibe and, with a child protagonist, I do think it's worth looking into. 6.3 out of 10 is probably fair. Nothing was particularly bad. They just could have pushed horror elements further because it just wasn't quite scary. And they got the atmosphere right. It was just missing some substance to go with it, I suppose. Good bones, though. Number 246 is Leprechaun. If I'm thinking back to the Jason X review I just did, this movie will be a great comparison of how a really dumb horror movie can be made enjoyable. This is a movie about an evil leprechaun trying to get his gold back. I don't think there's anything else worth saying. Except Jennifer Aniston before she got super famous. And a cold AC. It's completely ridiculous and probably racist towards the Irish people, but just look at this entire intro.
In the Lord's name!
A pot of gold. A wee person, a leprechaun. I caught him and made him show me where his gold is. It's the rule, you know.
This movie is just wacky. It's full of completely ridiculous kills and cartoon death antics. You could probably compare this to Killer Clowns from Outer Space in that regard. And fun fact, this is one of the first horror movies I had ever seen, and it actually scared the piss out of little boy Nin. This movie is such a stupid good time. I guess you can say it's scary in a hedonistic sort of way. I think if you want to scare your kid or little sibling or what have you, you should definitely show them this. Watch it with some friends and have a grand old time, you know the drill. 7 out of 10. Number 247 was Ruhu and Ruhi, I don't know. I skipped it, it sucked. Number 248 is Things Heard and Unseen. And this sucked so hard. So don't be fooled by the cast. This movie is a load of donkey waste. I can hardly fucking even remember what this is about. Writer, professor man, and a wife move out into country with their child. Very pretty sets and locations, and it turns out there's a ghost or something in a house. And it also turns out that maybe the husband isn't quite what he seems. There's this whole theme of paintings and spiritualism that doesn't really work.
Because of you, we are joined in spirit.
This movie is just also really boring and doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere. They set up this town as being followers of this romanticist spiritualist, and most they do with it is a random seance, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't really come into play at all in this movie except to establish some very basic lore that didn't need these characters to do in this first place. It just sucked. There was maybe one interesting visual, and the rest were whatever scary moments that weren't scary. The plot also just really sucked, and none of the characters except Old Man Falls Off Boat were interesting. It was like they found a spooky house and was like, okay, let's build a movie around this. Which isn't even completely true, because this was based off of a book, apparently, but it felt like they leaned entirely on the setting for this to be good. I will give credit to Redditor Netball here for naming this genre of horror real estate horror. Oh, I forgot to give this a rating when I wrote this down. 4.5, fuck it. Number 249 is The Strangers Pray at Night. So, apparently this was a sequel, but it doesn't matter in context of this movie, because Netflix did actually add the first movie, but it added it way after this movie came out, so I ended up watching it out of order, and who cares. It's a slasher where they wear spooky masks, that's literally it. The movie really loves that, one annoying trope in these kind of slasher movies, you know, when you put on a happy, peppy pop song to something really fucked up happening. It's automatically scary and creepy when you do that, you know. Now, obvious sarcasm aside, they do this like 5 times in this fucking movie. The characters are nothing to say. I don't have anything to say about this. It's a boring slasher. Even though all the boys love The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, whatever the fuck it was called, had a stupid twist. It was something, an attempt to elevate it beyond what the movie obviously was. 4.8 out of 10. I didn't hate it. It was just nothing to say. And I'll just go ahead and talk about number 250, The Strangers. Yes, Netflix did add this out of order. I'm saying that one more time, and it's dumb. It's basically the exact same shit as the first movie, just a little bit worse, I think. I don't know. There's very little to say. 4.7. Who cares? Who cares? I'm done. I'm broken. Number 251 is Army of the Dead, and oh god, it's so long. When this got added, I wanted to like fucking cry, because I saw how long it was and I saw who directed it. Okay, so as far as I know, this is Zack Snyder's second horror movie. And the last one he did was the 2004 Dawn of the Dead, which I know nothing about. I'm pretty sure I saw it, I just remember nothing, because it was so long ago and honestly probably forgettable, just like this zombie movie. There's not a whole lot to say that has not been said already. The Red Letter Media review just kind of perfectly encapsulates it. It's awful. It's just an awful attempt at mixing Ocean's 11 or 8, or I've never seen it, with zombies. Well, I don't think it's a bad idea in concept, it's just the two ideas seem completely disparate from each other in this movie. Now, I've said this multiple times before, but zombie movies just feels like a thoroughly explored subgenre to the point where any attempt at a twist just kind of feels like forcing it. Because that's what this entire movie feels like. It's a blunt object that does not hit very hard, like a Nerf bat. The dialogue sucks. There's this like political message with the refugees crossing a border because Trump. Boy has aged quickly. The plot's pretty much what I said earlier. Dave Bautista killed a bunch of zombies and was super cool, but now works at a burger place, so he needs money. So he gets hired to Ocean's 11, a vault that was trapped in Las Vegas, a quarantine city where I think the rest of the zombies have been rounded up. Oh, and there's also zombie tigers and hags and This just feels like a really bad video game adaptation. The characters in this movie weren't very interesting either. It's a basic estranged father and daughter plot with did I say estranged? Estranged. That was the most interesting thing that happened in this review. But despite their attempts at making something interesting or unique with this dynamic, it just feels stupid and tacked on. I was waiting the whole movie for also this guy to use a saw, and he just never does. It's teased, and they don't fucking do anything with it. Not even the action's worth watching. Oh, before I forget, there's a part where this guy, who totally isn't going to betray them, gets one of their team members lost in a zombie room to get killed. And then when she breaks out of a window unbitten, they just kind of leave her there. And then she, again, still fighting, they just sit back and watch her get bit after like 5 minutes of fighting. They had literally all the time in the world to stop what was going on and protect her, and it was so fucking dumb. This movie's just full of dumb shit like this. Once again, the Half in the Bag review where Letter Media did is a great comprehensive review of this movie, as well as some more in-depth filmmaking aspects that I can't get into, both because of time and because I just don't know it, like the dead fucking pixels. So check that out if you want a more detailed look, because this movie sucked. 3 out of 10. Jesus Christ. Number 252 is No Escape Room. Sci-fi original. Oh fuck! Just like Army of the Dead, it's another estranged father trying to make amends plot, but it's not as annoying, luckily. I'm gonna go ahead and get some bias out of the way. I did like this movie because there were parts of it that were very Lincore, I guess, but I don't think it's a good movie. Let me explain the plot. A strange bullshit. Dad has the idea of going to an escape room since the horseback place they go to is locked or something. Diner lady recommends it, Goosebumps style, this escape room thing. Now, if you don't know what an escape room is, somehow, well, they do explain it here, but basically, you just solve riddles in a locked room and try to cooperate with others to escape. I've never personally been to one, but there's all kinds. This one has something weird going on. I'm talking about Steins Gate, Infinite 8, Haruhi Suzumiya bullshit. Time stuff, pretty much. They pretty much progress forward trying to escape what seemed to be a haunted escape room that a murderer uses as murder crib. This movie is pretty much all style, no substance, or the substance doesn't really make any sense. There's a lot of neat stuff too, but it just doesn't really pull together in any sort of meaningful way. Like, if you think about Underguttum, which I mentioned way before, all that stuff, it did come together. Like, it seemed really disparate and lengthy. It did come together in the end. This did not come together at all. Now, a lot of people did seem to not like this movie because to them it just felt like it was being written as it was filmed, and I 100% agree with them. It just kind of feels that way. I do think it was cool and interesting as far as concepts and ideas go, and I did like some of the visuals. It just wasn't coherent. It needed either a stronger writer or someone to come make sense out of this. But I do give it points for at least being an attempt at something intriguing, because I was definitely interested. It's a personal bias 6.5 out of 10, but I can't assure you that you would rate it the same way. If Weird Escape Room, what is wrong with me? If Weird Escape Room time stuff sounds interesting, give it the old look-see. Number 253 is Ghost Lab. So, I will say full disclosure here. I started it, I watched like 30 minutes of it, and then I skipped it, and then I came back to it, and I'm glad I did. So, in the beginning, here's why I kind of skipped it. It had a bunch of really fucking obnoxious edits and Nickelodeon sitcom music.
น้อยใจเมียตอนกลิ่นไหม้นะหึงไปทั้งห้องเลยค่ะ
ใช่ค่ะ เนี่ยเรามี มุกนี้5 ดาวไปเลยค่ะหมอวี เอาคืนได้เฉียบ
Luckily, when the tone changes, and it changes very drastically, all this annoying shit does go away. So this movie is about 2 doctors. One's a surgeon, and the other is, I forgot, who cares. But they're best friends. They see some paranormal shit, so the scientist within them, like the scientist aspect within them, wants to prove ghosts scientifically to the world, and they make it a very large point that it has to be scientific by using the word scientific multiple times. It's very goofy up until they realize the most likely way they can test it is if one of them dies and becomes a subject as an experiment. It's definitely a bit of a jump, no pun intended, as far as reasoning goes, but to them, it's because, like, oh, since they're best friends, they have that connection for past regrets or whatever, so it's the easiest way for them to control this. Anyways, our main lad, whose mom had died in the beginning, cannot go through with it because of Mother Geist, shows up saying, "What are you doing?" And his friend Gla, let's just use the names, fucking winks at him and kills himself. From there, the tone changes for the better, completely. Our main character starts getting more and more obsessed with trying to increase the spiritual power of his friend Gla, who can only like communicate in single word text or small little nudges and bumps, until he kind of goes full on villain psychopath. But yeah, it was interesting the way it progressed like that. And again, the tone shift was very nice. If you can get past those edits, I think it'd be a fun watch. It wasn't super scary. It was just kind of a fun movie. It was an interesting drama. I would say like 6 out of 10. Yeah, seems fair. Number 254 is The Strange House. This is a foreign attempt at a Stephen King kids adventure movie, and it was not good. There's a tropey Stephen King stuff like the Stephen King Bullies, Stephen King Girl, Stephen King Nerd. This plot involves this baby boy child being possessed by a ghost to relay a message about whoever did the murders or whatever in this strange house. It's nothing worth watching. It's just a mystery that's not very inventive or suspenseful. It feels like something I'd see on the Disney Channel. Skip it. It's a 3.3 out of 10. Number 255 is Population 436. Cool premise yet again, although the movie visually looks very cheap and made for TV, like direct-to-video quality. This movie is about a representative from the census who's come to check on Rockwell Falls because for some reason they've held the exact population of 436 for over 100 years, and he's making sure that it's not some sort of clerical error. Katie, the census dude, gets the basic tour of the weird small town, and since an encounter with a pothole forces him to stay there until his vehicle's repaired, he now starts noticing some odd things. One, of course, is a weird population or religious numerology thing, and the other is the mention of a fever. Just fever. Apparently people who attempt to leave and become hysterical get treated by the town's only doctor or lobotomy style. There's some midsummer type stuff too. I think I just kicked the shit out of the mic. There's some midsummer stuff type too, especially for the festival that happened. It's basically just a weird mystery about a small town, and I'm always into that sort of stuff. Like most direct-to-TV movies, there is cheap acting and effects, but I felt fine for what it was. Only complaint was that the number thing was kind of explained, but not really in a satisfying way for me personally. Hats off to the good boy cop friend. What a wholesome lad.
You wouldn't do that. He's my friend.
6 out of 10. Number 256 is The Ring. You already know what this is. It's kind of a classic. More in Japan than it is here. And yeah, this isn't the Japanese version, it's the American one. If you live under a rock or are a miner, The Ring is about a haunted VHS tape that shows a bunch of creepy imagery and then a well that Sadako, well, Sadie, because it's American, crawls out of. And in 7 days, she gets ya, and that's a movie. This is about a journalist who tries to figure out the mystery of the tape before she and her son, who end up watching it by accident, die. This involves piecing together who the girl is, why she's in the well, and why she hates horses so damn much. It has a really nice drab and moody atmosphere the whole way through, which works and neat. It's kind of like in a Gothica. But then the acting does get kind of stinky at places, but there is a neat plot to follow. It just really lost steam from the second half on forward, and I don't know if it's worth watching now. Again, the atmosphere and cinematography is really good. On that alone, I think it's decent enough. I'd say it's 6.2-ish out of 10. I'm hesitant because I haven't seen the original Japanese version, which probably is better. I'm just kind of wondering, like, how relevant is this as far as a cultural thing for people to watch now, because there are better things. Number 257 is Underworld. This is an enormous action horror franchise, and I felt cold fear when I thought that a bunch of movies were added Chucky style. But then I learned that they staggered the installments for some reason, so it's not even in order. It's like the first movie, then the third movie, and then the fourth or fifth movie. I don't fucking know. I'm just glad I don't have to watch anymore, regardless. This is like Blade, but not as cool. It's about Kate Beckinsale, who plays a boring vampire in a vampire world, and it's a lot. Okay, so vampires versus werewolves. Vampires have mansions, werewolves have gross subway tunnels. You get the idea. Kate Beckinsale has to rescue some human who is wanted by the werewolves, and also shady shit's going on with a weird simp leader of the vampires. The action isn't particularly breathtaking or cool. It's ridiculous, which I'm fine with, like when she fucking slowly shoots the floor out beneath her in a circle to escape. There's a bunch of little twists and plot developments. All the characters are out for their own thing. I was actually fairly surprised that they weren't all flat cartoons. They had some depth here and there, but the movie's just schlock, like not even like schlocky enough. It's just a mediocre action movie with interesting lore concepts. All the weird vampire history stuff was kind of neat, just everything around it was not. This would have worked out best as like a young adult fantasy novel, I guess. I'll give it like a 5.8. I did not hit my time. Number 258 is The Seventh Day, and this is one of the goofiest exorcism movies that I have ever seen. Not quite as goofy as the worst movie on this list, but yeah. The biggest indicator that I was going to be in for a ride was when I saw that Tales from the Hood Devil was playing this priest character. Now, I'll give this movie some credit. It's not like other Exorcist movies, and it does have some unique spins to it, but it is still just shit. The plot involves a priest whose mentor died in an exorcism, the Tales from the Crypt guy, and now he's all grown up and a grizzled real bad boy of an exorcist, and he has a new protege to train. One thing that's hilarious that I want to mention is that they seem to cause more problems than they actually fix. Like, they go to interrogate a demon child in a facility, but they just antagonize it, and he kills like 10 completely innocent bystanders in the building, and they just did nothing. The characters are all really dumb, and the acting is silly and over the top. It's just full of utter buffoonery. 3.7 out of 10. Number 259 is The Eighth Night. Now, right off the bat, what I will say about this movie is that it does have some interesting world building that it establishes right off the bat.
Raktam cha Krishnam chakshu adchinat Tau tu chakshu buddha stadpa takshur buddham parihartum narebhyo dehe vritva sapta ratrim anirgamata Ashtaka rakta chakshur virmita nirgamitum prishtabhagam abhipayashti Sahasa tasya Palayan pathe darshini tat saptana sail setur nirjharir lakshita.
Now, the only problem is that it just kind of looks like shit. This is a very weird movie for me. I can't remember all that much that actually happens in it because it's confusing. There's a lot of weird imagery and stuff which I do like, and the characters aren't bad. Like little vowel sounds, monk child here. Look at him.
맛있냐? 네. 정말 맛있습니다.
Look at this little boy subbing at this lad everything he wants. He doesn't want to grow up. He wants to go to Toys R Us.
I don't want to grow up on a Toys R Us kid.
The plot is not clear. Like, I had to look up one of those fucking plot explain things, and it still doesn't really make sense. It was compelling because of the lead characters, but it's still a bit much to follow. But yeah, it was some neat, like, Buddhist-themed lore for this movie. 5.9 out of 10. Number 260 through 262 is the Fear Street movies. So I'm saying this now. This is a pretty dense section, so you can skip to if you want to get past this. So, reviewing 3 movies as a trilogy at once. This is not going to take long, actually, because one of the movies absolutely does not matter, and another movie hardly has anything happen in it of note. I know I said this is dense, but more in the sense that, like, I'm just kind of packing a lot of shit in here, and I'm condensing it because it doesn't actually matter, which you'll soon see. So Fear Street, if you don't know, is a series of teen to young adult horror novels written by R.L. Stine of Goosebumps fame, and if you somehow don't know what Goosebumps is, it's the same shit as Fear Street, but it's for a younger audience and much more well-known. I've personally read, I think, every single book, every mainline book at least, that come out. They had a movie which was pretty great fun, and you should watch it, especially because now's the season with it being Halloween soon, but we ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about a fun movie. So these movies revolve around the curse of Sarah Fear, a witch who was burned at the stake, but not before cutting her hand off for Satan and cursing the town Shadyside. If you're watching this movie, get ready to hear Shadyside is fucked a lot.
There's no angry dead witch who made him go postal. The only thing that made him go crazy is this town.
Deep down you feel it, don't you? Shadyside, there's something here. It's just holding us down, cursing us.
This curse pretty much involves a random person deciding to go on a murder spree ever so often, and of course in this first movie everyone just regards it as coincidence and a curse as legend, but you get the idea. I'm just gonna have to be really general because I'm either gonna spend a few minutes or 20 on this fucking series. The first movie takes place present-ish day, the second one sometime in the past, and the third is both kind of. If you want the exact dates, well, it's in the fucking title. The protagonist of these movies is some angsty and annoying girl whose name I forgot, and her ex-GF Sam, who I somehow remember, who was under the curse at the time. So now they gotta break the curse on her ex and stop the zombo serial killers and stop the mystery, or solve the mystery. Ooh boy. The setup is fine. I remember reading and thinking, ooh, witch stuff. And then getting disappointed when it's just a bunch of Michael Myers style unkillable zombies. The tone of these movies does feel like it's supposed to be some sort of somewhat campy Halloween styled fun horror slasher, but it also released in the middle of summer. But yeah, to keep this organized and not a rambling mess, let's start with overall positives and negatives. These movies do feel kind of loose and fun, sometimes to its detriment, but that's neat. It's just something that you can kind of just chill out to. Acting isn't terrible. I personally did not like the main character, but that's probably because of how she was written, not acted. I think she did a fine enough job. Some of the kills are really neat, especially the bread cutter scene, which I'm not going to show. I don't think I can even show it. And lastly, I do like plots like this, where it involves a mystery that they have to kind of go out of their way to solve. Okay, now the bad. The movie is a bit too fucking obnoxious, and I get that some of the obnoxiousness is on purpose. It does not always work, especially with our main character.
I'm not the one who moved to Sunnyvale. Okay, you made the choice. I just made it official.
My parents got divorced. I didn't have a choice.
Oh, come on. You just couldn't wait to start your new fake life with your fake-ass mom.
It's not as bad as it's making out to be, probably. Just think about that babysitter movie, but less over the top. Some of the music choices were also really bizarre, especially in the third Fear Street movie. It sounds like a fucking high-end Subaru or Toyota car commercial. It's really weird.
And everything you take, and everyone you harm, you will feel the grip of my hand.
The other and kind of the biggest problem, and why I ultimately just did not care at all about this entire series, despite that two of the movies were pretty okay, is that the ending that this all leads up to is fucking awful. It goes to a really dumb twist that is in no way interesting. Like, it puts the entire series in a really dumb perspective, and you can practically skip the second movie, by the way. Almost none of it matters, despite the fact that I actually like it the best out of all three. The entire premise of the second movie just involves an incident where literally everyone but one character dies, and you already know who this is from the first movie and who's telling the story, but even then, that movie is largely pointless. All it did was show you where Sarah Fear was buried, which could have just been a few scenes instead of a whole fucking movie. But that's not a trilogy, now is it? Okay, it still ended up being a really long review. Look, I didn't spoil anything for once since it's a 3-parter. It is kind of fun, it's just the ending that really soured it for me. I think it's probably a 5.5 overall. The first movie's a solid 6.5 out of 10. It's pretty fun, and same for the second one, really. The ending just kind of brought it down really hard because it just, again, it recontextualizes the entire thing. And I think since Halloween is coming up next, now, probably, you might be a little bit more warm to it. I wouldn't really suggest watching it any other time. And even now, I don't even know if I'd call it a suggestion. But, make a choice. Number 263 is Pet Sematary 2, and oh boy, this looks like shit. Alright, let me see if I don't peek the mics next time. Alright, so this is news to me. Apparently Pet Sematary had a sequel at some point. I don't remember the book having a sequel, not that I read it, but maybe that's why Stephen King wanted his name taken off the movie. The second one, that is. This is a very, very silly, very unnecessary, and very dumb movie. I kind of love it in a best of the worst, red letter media sort of way. It's just fucking dumb. Okay, so first we have to start off with the wife who gets electrified on her job. As an actress, and a poor lad in Steve Jobs here who has to deal with it. They move to a new town, and Pet Sematary 1 happens. Oh, I don't know if I made it clear. The Steve Jobs and the child, they're her family. So if you don't know what the plot of Pet Sematary 1 is, it involves a graveyard built by Native Americans, and if you bury your pet or person, it comes back. but maybe what coming back ain't what you put in. You get the idea. The book, I think, implies that this is a bit... They imply a bit more is going on, like that cemetery kind of compels people to use it, which is why people keep going back there. And I guess that's how they justify a second movie, I guess. There's a lot of very bizarre choices in this movie, which are really funny and stupid. Like when he took the cat with him to school. Why? This fucking chase music that follows this. The horrendous acting here.
I know your dog died, but get a grip, man. You're freaking me out.
If there was even one chance in a million it'd work, wouldn't you just want to try?
And the odd dream sequences. There's also a part in the movie where the main character's friend's dog gets, spoiler, killed, but I mean, it's a dog in a horror movie, what do you expect? But yeah, he has to go bury the dog, and instead of, like, I don't know, wrapping the dog in a towel, blanket, or box, or, I don't know, carrying it in a wagon, he just lugs this lifeless corpse around like a rag doll. And again, this is basically the plot of the first movie. Dead things get buried, they come back evil, and it's just way dumber. And the movie really goes off the rail and shows this when the kid goes off the rails.
Mom is dead, Jeff. You know that.
She doesn't have to be.
To really cap this off, the movie has the weirdest choice of a credit sequence. It has these fucking portraits over music like it's a sitcom intro or outro. I don't get it. I like this movie. It's dog shit and it's hilarious. 4 out of 10. I would recommend it probably as a funny watch, but no, it's not good. Number 264 is Blood Red Sky. This was a joyless airplane vampire heist movie, which sounds impossible, but yeah, it was. I was bored, joyless, and I got nothing out of it. Now, I don't even think it's a bad movie. The mom actress did a good job. The heist people were heist people. It's fine. I just didn't like it. There were compelling aspects to it, but I just wasn't into it. I don't really know why. This is why I'm not a good reviewer. And other than the last act, there wasn't really anything particularly bad other than me being bored. I think if you like plain heist movies, you'll kind of enjoy this, but at some point you'll wonder why the kid wasn't thrown out of the plane. For me, it's a 5.5 out of 10, but you know, make your own opinions. Or just don't watch it. Number 265 is A Haunting in Connecticut 2. So I saw the first Haunting in Connecticut a long ass time ago with one of my good friends, and from what I remember, it was pretty decent. Granted, I wasn't exposed to nearly as much crap as I am now, if this list doesn't make that obvious, and so maybe I just didn't know better. Okay, maybe they were both shit. I don't care. Anyways, spoilers, this sucks pretty bad. So, plot stuff. A family moves into a dirt cheap house because that's how movies work, and it turns out that the mom's bloodline of the family has a spiritual gift that she suppresses with evil medication because fuck you for not wanting to see dead screaming ghosts all your life. Her little girl starts seeing stuff too, and it turned out that this was all owned by a old white dude who didn't cotton to people wanting to visit the Underground Railroad station here. History for my foreign friends. The Underground Railroad was a system of transport, not an actual train, used by slaves and what was called station masters as a means of escaping to the north to freedom during the Civil War days. Or pre-Civil War days, I get the idea. And yeah, that's the plot. Now, the good stuff, and by good I mean shit, this movie is chock full of bad and annoying editing and directing choices. There's parts that look like it was shooting a crime scene from CSI.
Well, back when he owned all this land, he was what's called a taxidermist.
And fucking shitty sepia grain filters. Yeah, the movie is also just very clumsy with the way it shows its imagery. It's just all visually awful. Yeah, you can skip this shit. 3.3 out of 10. Number 266 is Aftermath. So this is kind of a weird one, but first thing I want to point out is that our main character is played by Lamplighter from The Boys and The Devil's Gate. What the fuck was he? Was he in that? This is a movie about a couple struggling to have sex because the wife cheated on him and he's having a bit of a hard time getting into it. For a second, it seemed like they were going to make it sort of a both sides are reasonable angle, where she was being ignored and not taken care of in any way. But yeah, the reason that this was all even happening was because his brother fucking killed himself, so he didn't want to, do anything. So no, it's pretty much all on the wife. The plot of the movie involves weird shit happening around a house. The wife sees it, but no one else believes them. You know the drill. And until you don't, but you kind of know what's going to happen, this movie has a very weird tone. especially with Lamplighter's corpse cleanup crew. They have a very odd and friendly dynamic. I mean, I liked it. It just set an odd tone, and even more so when, and I'm gonna have to commend the film for not having husband cheat on the wife. They set it up where he's gonna go back to college and he has to work with a hot lady for an assignment, and they're a bit too friendly it seems. But no, she just literally at one point tells him to go home to his wife after an argument him and his wife had. She's a good friend. Okay. Now let's talk about the dumb stuff in the movie, but I do want to quickly bring attention to the worst sex music choice. So unfortunately, the dumb stuff is the the twist and the ending. And the twist, spoilers obviously, is that it's just the boy. It's a man in the wall, not a ghost. Now who, and again, this is where I'm confused. He was a secret lover of the previous homeowner's wife, and in order to facilitate easier cheat sex, she had him hole up in a fucking secret room that was built. And I don't know why, but he became Gollum-ized.
You didn't deserve that.
Why is he a Gollum now? Yeah, so I didn't list too many negatives, but I can only really give this like a 5.6 out of 10. That seems kind of low, but and it was decently made, but the movie just wasn't very interesting. Unfortunate. Number 267 is The Old Ways. First thing I want to say is that this was kind of like an indie project, a little bit. I think it was an independent writer who got his script picked up. I don't know too much about it. You can look into it if you want. Anyways, congrats on that, dude, but let's get to the movie. I will say that this movie has an interesting premise. A reporter does go back to her home country where she wanders somewhere she's not supposed to, a ruin called La Boca. Then she wakes up trapped in like a witch exorcist lady's home with her son and a reporter's cousin. According to them, she has a demon inside of her and they can't let her go until it leaves. Reporter thinks they're holding her hostage and that they're insane, but is that really the case? Anyways, on to the positives. I like all the weird biological symptoms as a result of the possession, and just the way they're depicting it in general. The possession stuff doesn't really feel generic. I like that it isn't just some Catholic priest, it's like a local cultural shaman looking thing, and that just made it more interesting. Props are also cool. Okay, on to the bad. Main character sucks. I just really hate her. She does have a bit of a character arc, but she's still lame at the end of it. She's also really unapologetic about the fucking situation she literally put herself in.
I told you not to. It was not safe. Are you serious?
Because it's my job to go to places people tell me not to go. There are 10,000 caves in these jungles. What difference does it make?
Another thing is that like 20 minutes of the movie could have been avoided if they just let her walk outside. If they just let her walk into the fucking proton field, wouldn't that have been enough to convince her that this is all real instead of Michael Vicking an old dude? This is 46 minutes into the movie, by the way. Then there's the bits of CG, like the horrible CG sand. This kind of confuses me because the sand, it's cheap, right? You can just walk out and grab some sand, can't you? Why does it need to be CG? Oh, and big spoiler from here. For the ending. The way they initially exorcised the demon looks lame as fuck. I'm sure it was really cool in concept, or maybe animated or storyboarded, it looked cool, but it just ended up looking kind of lame to me. There's also a really terrible one-liner they use when they exorcise the demon again. And again, it was very lame.
I'm a motherfucking bruja.
Last note, some others have brought this up already, but there's a part where she just quits heroin cold turkey without a single side effect or anything. That's pretty unrealistic. The drug thing that is introduced in the beginning of the movie, which I didn't even bother mentioning because it doesn't matter, it becomes completely irrelevant. The movie's fine, I didn't hate it, but the longer it went, the more I started to dislike certain decisions. I think you'd probably enjoy it at least 5.8 out of 10-ish. For me, difficult to say if I'd recommend it. Again, good props. Number 268 is The Wind, or Wind. This movie is one of my favorite horror genres. Old American horror, as evidenced by The Witch. This movie does share similar aspects to The Witch in a lot of ways, so I'll be using that as a measuring stick and like a kind of a comparison, because it kind of shows where this movie falls flat. Basic plot is about a wife and husband who live on the old American prairie. and are basically isolated until another family, also struggling with a harsh life, moves in a mile or so away. This movie, like The Witch, is about people regretting living out there alone, dealing with isolation and harshness, and spooky stuff happening, as well as difficult to understand accents. Less difficult than The Witch, though, with the fucking dads. The cast is great for this. Atmosphere is also really good. The plot basically involves, once again, like The Witch, an overarching theme of paranoia over nothing, mind making up shit, it's like, it's just the wind, sort of stuff.
This land is funny, It plays tricks on your mind.
There's also some disjointed time with flashbacks interspersed throughout the movie. I liked it at first, but it didn't really serve a purpose other than to confuse you. Some other negatives involve, like the middle portion of the movie to the end. For a while, it builds this really strong atmosphere, but it doesn't just do anything really good with it. It's like all dressed up and nowhere to go. But with The Witch, it doesn't seem like much is going on because it's just some house in the woods, or in this case, a prairie. But the movie itself for The Witch was always heading in a direction. That is not the case with The Wind. There's also another major difference though, and this is a spoiler for the entire movie. If what I said so far sounds good, check it out. If you like old American horror, I think you'd like this. Or at least enjoy it. Spoiler! There ain't no devil. It's nothing. It's just the wind, dearie. Now take your laudanum and go to bed. Yeah, it's supposed to be ambiguous, but it's pretty obvious that the paranoia drove the wife nuts, and that's why she pretty much killed everyone. I liked it a bit. It just could have been a lot better, and it's certainly not The Witch. Like, I don't want to compare movies too often like this because, you can just always watch both, but it's clear that they're both trying to accomplish very similar goals, and The Witch just does it so much better. But I'll give this a 6.2 out of 10 because I can see more people than less enjoying this. And again, I did enjoy this. It just could have been better. Number 269, and the last movie on the list, Bhumika. And you know what? I think it's appropriate that we end on an Indian horror movie because that's most of Netflix's shit, apparently. Not most, but there's a lot of it. Okay, this was fucking stupid for a lot of dumb reasons. I have little to say about this movie other than the awful, terrible CG, which I always harp about awful CG, but I mean, I get, it's a budget thing, but it's really fucking bad here. And there's also a pretty gross misunderstanding of, like, a theory, but we'll get on to that. So this movie is all about autism. No, I'm serious. It's a psychiatrist and her speech-impeded child, along with a few of her friends. They go to hang out at some manor and grounds that's being refurbished for community planning, and then spooky shit happens there because of a mysterious murder. Apparently, an autistic lass, the daughter of a librarian, was killed here. She was not only autistic, but artistic. Is that bad? Should I not have said that? Huh. Anyway, she's good at arting, which is something I also do. And she loves nature and stuff, but back to the present. One of the girls that the psychiatrist comes with gets freaked the fuck out by the spooky shit. It's understandable, but it's also unbearable, and everyone just kind of has to deal with it. The groundskeeper then saves a scared girl from one of the worst CG animals I've ever seen. Like very clear that is little to no attempt. They almost look like that they're like pre-made assets from Unity or something. But yeah, he's there. Also, the groundskeeper is now a character too, I guess. So out of fucking nowhere, he then compares the ghost of Bhumika, the autistic girl, to the Earth, saying how they'll both strike back if you fuck with them. Just so the psychiatrist.
அதே மாதிரி தான் இப்போ இந்த பூமி சூடாகிட்டு இருக்கு. Global warming, climate change, இது எல்லாம் இந்த பூமிக்கு பிடிச்சிருக்கிற காய்ச்சல். இது ஒரு சைன். நம்ம பாடி எப்படி காய்ச்சல் மூலமா எக்ஸ்ட்ரா கிருமிகளை அழிக்குதோ அதே மாதிரி தான் இப்போ இந்த பூமி நம்மள அழிக்கிற மெக்கானிசம்ல இறங்கி இருக்கு.
By the way, no, that is not how this works. The Earth is not literally a living organism. Gaia theory, or hypothesis really, pretty much states that the organic environment and inorganic will interact with each other in order to maintain a certain equilibrium or homeostasis, whether that be temperatures, water level, what have you, you get it. The Earth is not a fucking brained individual. Stop spreading bullshit, please. And from here, this is where it gets dumber, because I don't know if this movie is trying to say that Bhumika is literally the incarnation of the Earth, or if she's like the Earth. It's never clear and it's dumb. Maybe these hideous CG squirrels had the answer. So yeah, it turns out that Bhumika was freaking out because a tree is being cut down or something, and then she killed herself, I guess. And then she would murder construction people who were just doing their job. Stuff happens. Bhumika paints some shit with the impeded child. Child says, thanks. And then the movie ends, I guess. Well, unfortunately not. They go back and move on. And I want to note this since I thought this was hilariously realistic. The girl who was scared the whole time is seen going to therapy to deal with all this supernatural baggage she now has to deal with. And I think that's great. Not enough movies show this aspect. And, and the guy who came there with her to refurbish everything apparently didn't learn the revelation that Bhumika was doing this because of nature. Which is really confusing when he dies, because the characters act like this is something that they just figured out as he's dying, when I could have sworn that they already explained it earlier in a scene I think I already showed. Anyways, shit movie, 2.7 out of 10. Go do something better with your life. Number 270 is A Classic Horror Story. I actually completely forgot that I watched this, so this would have been like way up there, but I just forgot. And again, to my credit, this isn't my fault. Netflix has been shuffling titles in and out of horror every so often, and it just kind of fucks stuff up. Not nearly enough to be an issue, except for this time, I guess. This movie isn't really one that stood out to me regardless. I kind of came into this movie already crippled, since Logan had already watched it and told me the idiotic ending. I guess this is a spoiler. It's kind of like Cabin in the Woods, but way less fun and way more boring. It involves a group of travelers who get stuck in the woods, and they're in a bus, and weird shit with the village. And to quote the movie,
Siamo isolati. I cellulari non funzionano. Ma perché nessuno lo dice? Questo è proprio il classico film dell'orrore. Go to sleep, man.
I think you more or less can guess where this is going. Like, it could have been a decent or okay-ish horror movie, but spoilers, they went full meta and it's literally a horror movie. Like, I have no problem with twists like this. Technically, like in theory I don't, but it didn't really do anything to elevate the movie. It's just like a local mafia that's using the village. Actually, I'm not sure why this is all supposed to be a fake horror movie, other than maybe the main guy wanted it to be a one. So yeah, he organized this entire scenario to film a horror movie. And yes, they're actually dying. He just wanted to make a Serbian film. That's a film joke. Get it? The problem isn't that I didn't understand it or that I didn't get irony. Which is a lot of defenders are claiming about people who don't like this movie. I understood it. I got it. It just wasn't very clever or good. It wasn't the worst thing. You might get more enjoyment out of it if you like meta stuff. The thing is, I don't totally dislike either end of this movie. The meta stuff or the parody cliche horror plot that was set up, it just ended up being forgettable. Hence the fact that I literally forgot about it. 5 out of 10. Number 271 is No One Gets Out Alive. So this movie was both a breath of despair and fresh air for me. I was practically finished with the reviews and editing, and then this got added at the last minute, like the last day of September. But luckily this is a pretty good movie, and it's apparently based off a book. I actually want to watch it again, believe it or not, since the conditions I watched it weren't great. And by conditions I mean blinding sunlight, glare from my screen, lawnmowers, or other random bullshit. Okay, now the movie. This is about Ambar, a girl without papers trying to make it in New York City.
If you want to stay any longer, I'll need your ID. It's been 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Okay, you'll get it.
Which sounds like the plot of a musical minus a creepy boarding house, dingy alleys, and spectral bullshit that appears to be going on. The plot is more or less what I just said. She's just trying to get a official citizenship made up so she can escape her dog shit exploitative job and get a better life. A life she basically gave up when her mother was dying. So like early on in her life, her mother had asked for Ambar to stay at her side on her deathbed, which is an understandable request for a mother, but this ended up causing her to put Ambar's life on hold, which dominoed into her current situation. In the meantime, she's staying at this weird-ass boarding house with a grizzled old white dude and his brother. There's a lot of forbidden rooms, creepy Aztec artifacts, and odd sightings of disappearing, screaming women. You know, the good stuff. There's kind of, as multiple people have already pointed out, a neat overall theme of sacrifice that goes with the whole movie. Everything from a metaphorical thematic, which I just said, in a literal sense, kind of ties into this. And there's a really, really cool visual at the end too. Like, it's one of my most favorite designs for anything ever. I'm gonna say spoiler and just show it here. Very neat. Anyways, this movie has a lot of strengths, from the cast being pretty great to the atmosphere and the visuals. Only downside is that certain spoilery elements I think should have been taken to a little further or fleshed out degree. There was a lot of weird and kind of abstract imagery, but it didn't go quite abstract enough to suspend practical questioning of it, if that makes sense. Like, if you're watching a David Lynch movie, you accept the weird stuff because you know that it plays into something bigger, even if it's impractical because it's David Lynch. Not quite the case with this movie, but still, it's pretty good. 7.5 out of 10. I'd say watch it. Number 272 is The Cave. It's an underground creature feature, as in it's about a creature that's underground, and it's featuring it. It's a bunch of divers or cave explorers who check out an ancient cave system, and then there's a weird fleshy bad creatures in it. That's kind of it. To get kind of more, this feels pointless. There's literally nothing to unpack here. It's exactly what it says it is. The monster designs were okay. The central plot of the whole cave thing I think was kind of neat, but it could have been a little bit more neat if it was less grounded and more of like an adventure story. Like, the movie's plot itself is just dull. They're just checking out a hole, which is, yeah, that's it. They're just checking out a hole. The movie just didn't make much of an impression on me, and the monster stuff wasn't good enough to really scratch that creature feature itch like Sweetheart did. So it's a 5 out of 10. It's very inoffensive. Okay, if I caught it Saturday morning when I just woke up on Sci-Fi, I wouldn't hate it. Number 273 is Till Death. I'm gonna be honest, I saw Megan Fox on the cover and immediately lost all hope for it, but I got it back. And she's the one who gave it back to me. She did a great job. I will say that I almost gave up on this movie also because it looked like a total ripoff of Gerald's Game, and it was for about 30 minutes, but then I read the description and saw that something else hadn't happened yet, and that's what made this movie interesting. This is about a mentally battered wife who cheated on her husband with some associate. I don't fucking remember what this guy actually did. And then she decides to stop doing that so she can be a good lady. And then we see the husband, and it's the closest thing to a human vampire that I've ever seen.
I thought you were going to wear the red dress. You know, that's my favorite.
I know. I just thought that maybe we could try something a little different.
It's okay. It's time to stop by the apartment and change.
I'm not doing this. I can't do it. I feel car sick. I'm taking it off. I don't.
Stop. You're a real surprise.
He's a contender for actual best villain on this list. And again, this is pretty much just Gerald's Game for a while with some weird differences. It's just a weird overall plot, honestly. So Megan Fox does the cheating, and all she has past trauma from someone who robbed her and then she stabbed his eye out. Husband takes her to Lake House for their anniversary. They have the sex, then she wakes up handcuffed to him, and then he fucking blows his brains out in front of her, leaving her chained to a dead body without a brain. I literally jumped into my seat when this happened because this was so fucking far out of left field. I'm sure if I paid more attention initially, I would have saw this coming, but I was very skeptical up to this point. But it doesn't matter, it still got me. So it turns out, this entire Lake House scenario was just a psychotic revenge plot thought out by the husband against her. His business was apparently going up in flames, and what his wife did on top of this, despite the fact that he's apparently been cheating too. He just went way over the hedge and concocted this entire silly, goofy plot. Oh, and to make this even better, he fucking hired the dude who traumatized her and assaulted her in the past to come by and finish the job. But yeah, I'm leaving everything else kind of like a blank slate for you to fill in. The movie was pretty entertaining. Megan Fox did a good job, and this is just the weirdest revenge plot I have ever seen. 7 out of 10. Number 274, and really number like 20 or something, is Cam, a forgotten movie, as in I forgot about it because it's way back in the seas, and upon reviewing, editing, recording, and watching everything that I was supposed to for the seas, literally not in that order, I've completely forgotten to do the same for Cam. Like, I watched it and I reviewed it, I just forgot to record it apparently, and here we are now. So Cam is a really interesting movie for a lot of reasons. This is about a cam girl, and to be clear, yes, an internet stripperella, and she one day finds that she can't access her account because a fucking oblivious doppelganger is taking control of it. This movie does have a really nice atmosphere to it, and it didn't just take place on someone's laptop the whole time like I was kind of scared it would. The lead's desperation as he tries to become a top model immediately goes off the rail when this replica shenanigan like kind of whole starts, and it's just great. It shows off a really unexplored sort of plot, because I can't say I've ever seen a movie about a cam girl, nor have I really thought about what kind of struggles family and public, as in by public I mean the creepy fans, or experiences they would have had. Yeah, it was pretty neat. The ending doesn't really make much sense. I also wish more stuff with the doppelganger had been explored too, but it doesn't matter. It kind of matters. Whatever. Neat movie. 7.3 out of 10. Number 275 is The Devil Inside. What's unfortunate for me is that I've heard quite a bit about this movie beforehand, so I knew what to expect along with the atrocious ending. This is a found footage movie based, quote unquote, around real events. Basically, a girl's mom was supposedly possessed and killed her father, but it was ruled as a dissociative identity disorder, DID. But the Vatican was never able to exorcise her, so now she's just stuck this way. Vatican doesn't want to touch her, and the law just wants to put her in a mental asylum. So, because of this, the daughter decides to get her the help she really needs and figure out whether or not her mom was actually possessed. She gets help from some kind of rogue priest and do undercover exorcisms. Did I say exorcisms? I should have just said schism, because it did it once successfully, and everything just got all fucked up from there. Despite a somewhat interesting premise, it just ended up being a boring possession cliche in a found footage format. The main girl ends up possessed, and then they drive her somewhere. Then the movie literally cuts to black and tells you to go to some website for malware and figure out more. This played in theaters, mind you, so people left their homes and paid to have a movie to tell them to fuck off and go to a website to figure out what happened next. 4 out of 10. Number 276, and the last movie on the list, and I don't even need to review this. This is Exorcist 3, Legion. If you've watched this far, then you know what this movie is. This is literally the measuring stick that I've been using for all the fucking dog shit, demon, and ghost horror movies on here. This is the best horror movie on Netflix, and not just Netflix, I mean, it's probably one of the best horror movies. It's definitely a favorite of mine. 9.7 out of 10, and I'm not done, but yes, I mean that score. Just watch it. It's the best movie here. You don't need the first or second Exorcist. It doesn't actually matter. It was just going to be called Legion, but studios were afraid nobody would watch it if it didn't have Exorcist in the title, so they just put Exorcist in the title. To give you the most bare synopsis, it's about an old detective and his priest friend trying to uncover a completely heinous serial killer's crimes. It's gorgeous, the acting is top-notch, and some of the scenes were seriously unforgettable.
Macbeth is about, I'll tell you, it's a play about the numbing of the moral sense. I tell Ryan that we have nothing to go on this case. You know what he says to me? Win some, lose some. You're a racist, Ryan. Did you know that? On the entrance exam for new policemen, they ask, what are rabies and what would you do for them? Ryan said, rabies are Jewish priests, and I would do anything I possibly could for them.
It's my bar for a good slow burn. This and The Witch, really. So you seriously cannot go wrong with this. You don't know how lucky you are that it just got added on here, and how lucky I am. Well, I'm probably going to watch this again soon. Alright, never mind. We don't get to end this list with the best movie on here. We have to end it with one of the absolute worst movies on here. And I'm talking about A Haunted House 2. Now, this isn't me being stupid or making a mistake. This is Netflix's fucking fault for doing this shit constantly. Again, they're constantly shuffling horror titles in and out of the genre if it's like loosely related. And this is an example of it. I'm not even going to give it a proper review. It was really, really fucking awful. We couldn't even get past, I think, 20 minutes of it.
Ah, girl, you stupid. Play with it, but you didn't fucking like this.
It's complete trash. Forget about it. 1.4 out of 10. Congratulations, you're worse than the Vatican tapes. I thought I was going to end it with the best on this list, and no, it actually did end up just being the worst. The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, no, at least I fucking finished the Vatican tapes. I couldn't even finish this shit. I've never noped out of a movie this fast on here. But it's over now, and we can go home. Okay, that's it. We're done. I'm done. This is done. We are done. I've watched and reviewed what I could, and emphasis on could, because sometimes shit just goes away before I can even get to it. I reviewed everything from when I started in like April of last year to the beginning of October. Thank you so much to everyone who came by and stuck along the way. I hope this was at least enjoyable. I wanted to finally finish this thing before October really started, but early October is fine too. I hope I gave you guys something interesting to watch for this month, whether it's completely baffling dog shit or actual hidden gems. Also, this is the last alphabetically or even just comprehensive list that I'm making. This shit is way too fucking annoying to edit. And to be 100% clear, that is why these videos have been taking so long. Editing this shit and making time for it is really tedious, especially when I have to worry about copyright claims, compression issues, and or DaVinci, which is my editor, slowing down to a snail's pace when I'm editing and having to restart the whole thing just so that it runs normally. So more videos to come, maybe a little bit different. There is a list coming that I teased, and hopefully you'll see that soon. I'm not quite sure when exactly that's going to be happening, but I mean, it'll be happening. I already put myself through the pain. But I'll let you guys find out what that video is if you decided to like, sub, comment, donate, pledge, chance, loot, sacrifice, and toss whatever rocks you have to the channel. Okay, I'm gonna go work on my webcomic about spooky mystery in small town with children and this thing. It's called Murky Deeds. You can look it up if you want it. Alright, see ya.